Welcome, everybody, to the Big Book Roundtable of the RICO 12 family of recovery resources targeted at people from all backgrounds, faiths, and places dealing with addictions of all varieties. I am Justin B. I'm a son of an all-powerful, all-loving God and a multidisciplinary addict living in the miracle of recovery one day at a time. I'm grateful to be sitting around this virtual roundtable again with Nikki M. and David G., and just how we're striving to dive into this beautiful big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and see where God takes us, see where our higher power takes us, teaches us, and hopefully in that process you get to hear a little bit about that and apply it into your recovery and into your life. So, Nikki, why don't you come off mute and introduce yourself real quick?
Hi, everybody. I am an agent for the creator of the universe. And I'm not a secret agent. I let everyone know that's what I do. Like, I work for God. Okay. Thank you.
I love that. Not a secret agent. Love that. David, tell us a little bit about yourself too.
Yeah, absolutely, Justin. And as always, thank you for your service and all that you do for the community and the communities. Nikki, always grateful to be sitting around the table with you as well. Love you, sister. I'm David G. I'm an alcoholic and addict of many sorts. I've been given the gift of sobriety in Alcoholics Anonymous since August 8th of 1994. And today I'm completely and utterly abandoning myself to him. So it's good to be here.
Thank you, David. And we're just going to jump right into the reading today. If you have questions, want to see additional resources, or would like to donate, just check out the show notes of the podcast. But today we're going to continue in how it works. Last time we went through the step 3 prayer and some things leading up to that, the step 3 promises. Today we're going to continue on the transitioning into step 4 for the next couple of paragraphs there on page 63. We'll start at, we found it very desirable, and ending at the top of page 64 with the paragraph that ends with, so we had to get down to causes and conditions. All right, here we go. We found it very desirable to take this spiritual step with an understanding person, such as our wife, best friend, or spiritual advisor. But it is better to meet God alone than with one who might misunderstand. The wording was, of course, quite optional, so long as we expressed the idea, voicing it without reservation. This was only a beginning, though if honestly and humbly made, an effect, sometimes a very great one, was felt at once. We next launched out on a course of vigorous action, the first step of which is a personal house cleaning, which many of us had never attempted. Though our decision was a vital and crucial step, it could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to face and be rid of the things in ourselves which had been blocking us. Our liquor was but a symptom, so we had to get down to causes and conditions. All right, so just a couple more paragraphs there today, but we're going to dive into that and see where this takes us. Nikki, why don't you start us off with your run through those couple of paragraphs and what you pull out of them?
Wow, there's just always so much. Thank you again. I love you guys. And I'm just so grateful to be part of the RICO 12 recovery resource family. And, yes, we found it very desirable to take this spirit. This is a spiritual program, everybody. This isn't a religious program. This isn't even a cult. I've been accused of being a cult leader. Someone's actually said, Nikki, you're a cult leader. It's like, I just follow the dictates of the big book, but this is a spiritual program. Okay. And with an understanding person. Now, it doesn't say sponsor, but in 2024, I took that with an understanding person, which was my sponsor. Okay. And you can, this is to be taken every day. I want to go deep on this real quick. Everyone's like, I've made my step 3 decision, or I'm working on my step 3 decision. It's a decision. Yes or no. Go back 10 pages to page 53. God is everything or God is nothing. Am I going to live for this power called love, or am I not? Full stop. And again, bring your people in that understand. And I'm living right here a lot lately, but it is better to meet God alone. See, because I'm finding even those in the program don't understand. I don't know if you guys are experiencing that too. Like they're not understanding really what this is about. what this is about, the disease of alcoholism. There's still a lot of separation in the rooms. I know all three of us are all addictions and afflictions. Everyone is welcome in every room, but a lot of people in rooms don't get this. So it's better for me to meet God alone, even with some people in the rooms who don't understand. They don't understand. They've watered down the message. They're not reading the same big book that I am. I don't know what book they're reading. And so I need to do this a lot alone. You know, my boyfriend lives in another country. It's been very difficult. My daughter lives in another country. Difficult. It's really hard. Even as I get more into the spirit world, I'm getting more disconnected from the humans. That's all I can say. I don't even know how to put it, because the wording, the terms, David really has driven me into the wording and the terms of these things. They're just words. They're just terms, and it's quite optional. Right now, my third step prayer is, thank you, God. Use me, God. That's it. That's almost after 13 years here. I'm not, God, I offer myself to thee. I used to say this verbatim every day. I'll break it down with my sponsees. You know, spiritual principles. I'm offering what? All my character defects to you, if you want to break it down real simple. But it's just wording. How about use me, God? I'm yours, God. Use me. That's simple. And I have to voice it without reservation. That took years. I'm just saying these things. It's like school. I'm just going through school, going through the motions. And then one day, all of this comes together. And I love this part where it says, this is only a beginning. What's only a beginning? Making this decision to live for God. I mean, it's just a beginning. Page 82 in our book clearly says that we feel a man, a woman is unthinking when they say sobriety is enough. This isn't enough. Like this is real radical. That's why I love page 30 where it says many pursue to the gates of insanity or death. Many. A lot of people will not make it. And then if honestly and humbly, it took me years to say this honestly and humbly, that I live for God. I'm a servant of God. Nothing is mine. I'm just a steward of everything. My children, my dog, my house, my big book, my fellowship, nothing's mine. I'm a steward. God's bestowed these gifts on me to caretake, but I've been dead asleep, abusing and using everyone, including myself. So it took me a long time to honestly, humbly make this beginning. But when I make it, I think David said in the last episode, you know, he's on fire when he really sincerely makes it. Sometimes I'm just going through the motions. A lot of the time I'm just making a decision to stay in pause land until I'm less agitated and disturbed to do something, right? And then, you know, felt it once. I had that, I think I've shared that once when we did the spiritual experience talk, and we have that recorded. I had that at once with money. When I made a sincere decision that I'm the steward of these things and nothing belongs to me. Oh, I felt that electric feeling at once, down to my knees. Nothing belongs to me. I was like an ant just towing the line. And here it is, everybody. Sponsors, listen closely. You don't hold your sponsee on step 3. It says next we launched vigorous course of action. Vigor with vigor. Remember, sincere enthusiasm, wholeheartedly. Radical stuff. And the first step is a personal house cleaning. Okay, you guys, I'm really busy taking my government's housekeeping. I'm busy taking all baby daddies and, of course, my grown children. I'm really not taking my house cleaning. Everybody, put your name there. And it says never attempted. I've been in the rooms for years and oh my God, I write a laundry list of all the actions. I wrote a laundry list of all the actions, but I never took a moral inventory. I took an actions, all the things I did, not my moral makeup. And though our decision, what decision? My step 3 decision to abandon myself sincerely, to be less and less interested in my own little stupid effing plans and designs. See, though my decision, it's vital to live for God, to live for love, and it's a crucial step, it's not going to stick. It's going to have no permanent effect unless at once, very fast, I got to follow a strenuous effort. And David will know the history. I can't wait to hear David's breakdown on this, because I know, and I'm not the historian, I'm just a little girl here just getting all the information, but I know these people back then, Bill W. and his friends, did not do this over the course of a year. Hi, Nikki, I'm working on my step 3, and I've been here for 2 years working on it. Like, it's getting real twisted in 2024 with this message, which says, at once, strenuous effort, face, rid things in self that are blocking me from what? From God, from the power, from love. See, I have to get rid of the things blocking me. And I'll just tell you, if you're just listening, you can just do it right now. It's the 7 deadly sins. There's your inventory. What's blocking me from God? It's not him. It's not the bank account. It's not my government. It's my arrogance. It's my self-loathing. It's my self-seeking. It's my dishonesty. It's my lust. It's my greed. It's my laziness that's blocking me from God. See, the liquor, the acting out, all that stuff, it's just a symptom. It's just a symptom. So we get down to causes and conditions. And the causes and the conditions, well, it's my moral defects, isn't it? I can't wait to hear what David has to say about this. See, my problem is my thinking, and I don't know how to live. I don't know how to think. And this is a magic book. This is a treasure map to get me to the power. No one is looking for God that I know. When we come into these rooms, we're looking for power because we're powerless. And yeah, this isn't easy. Love you guys.
Thank you, Nikki, so much. I appreciate your run through that. David, how about you? What are some of the thoughts you have there? Nikki was like, I'm looking forward to some of the history behind this. Take us there and take us where you are feeling in these paragraphs.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much, Nikki, for an incredible share of experience, strength, and hope there. I love to hear you share as well. So we found it desirable, and I think there should be a question mark there right behind that. By this point, I've seen what this self is and how destructive it has become and how it's ruled my life and caused me to hurt so many people, especially those I love. And they're telling me I have another way here. Have I found it desirable to take the spiritual step? With an understanding person, I do remember my sponsor telling me, you need to find an understanding person. And I thought, I don't really have anyone that understands. I'll just do it by myself. And he said, yeah, self seems to be your trouble, same as the rest of us. So, well, you're not going to do it by yourself. He said, do you go to very many meetings? And I said, yeah, I go to a lot. And he said, then you'll find an understanding person. Don't worry about that. So, such as our wife at that time, that was not an option for me. I was with wife number 2, and that just was not. I mean, she was still high while I was trying to get sober, and no, that wasn't going to work. I didn't have any best friends, and he was the only spiritual advisor I had. So it only made sense that I would do the prayer with him. But it says it is better to meet God. And he said, I want us to zone in on those 2 words right there, because this is the step that we're going to meet God. Later on, it's going to tell us on page 85 that we have entered into the world of the Spirit. Now, if I haven't met God here, my time spent there is going to be slim to none. I see people talk about step 10 and say, well, I never really had a very good experience with that. I've tried it. It didn't work out so good. Yeah. But did you meet God about 7 steps ago? And if the answer is no, then you might ought to back up, because you're not at step 10. You're far from step 10. I hear people saying essay all the time. I relapsed yesterday. I'm back to step 9 with my sponsor today. I'm like, don't even talk to me. Unless you're ready to have a different conversation, don't even talk to me, because you ain't nowhere near step 9, 4, 3. You're back to 1. It's better to meet God alone than one who might misunderstand. The wording, talking about the prayer that's in the middle of the page, is, of course, quite optional. So I can say that prayer any way I want to say it. I love how Nikki says her prayer. I love the NA way of saying the prayer. Take my will, take my life, guide me in my recovery, and show me how to live. That's their 3rd step prayer. I love it. It's very short, very simple, and very effective. But back in the early days, of Alcoholics Anonymous, that's all we did. We just run, say the prayer, and I've done the third step now. No, you might have went through the mechanics of the prayer of the third step, but you're far from taking the third step, I promise. But I love what it says. The wording was, of course, quite optional, so long as we express the key word here, the idea. See, our ideas are beginning to change now. We've been looking at how they've ruled us in a negative way all this time because of self, but now we're going to start to see it in a new way. And the first time I went to my sponsor's house, and I was dying in the rooms at a year at that time, and he sat down and read this with me. The words that are coming up is really, I left that day because it says voice in it. Wow. You mean I'm going to have to voice this? And he said, yes, according to our book, you are. And I said, I'm not doing that. I said, are you going to voice it at the same time? And he said, no. Now, some people do that, and I think that's okay if you do it that way, but he didn't do it that way. He did it the way the book says to do it, and it doesn't say anything about me and my sponsor voicing it. It says we, but voicing it without any reservation. Just in the paragraph above, it said, utterly abandon ourselves to him, now saying without reservation. This is only the beginning, though, if honestly and humbly made. That's the key to this. How do you humble a drunk? How do you humble an addict? I always ask that question to my sponsees when we're here, and they always tell me, well, just take his bottle away. No, you're going to piss him off. You're not going to humble him. You're going to piss him off. How you're going to humble a man is to get him on his knees with another man, one-on-one, and have him to have this come out of his mouth. And I promise you, that's going to humble itself, will damn near kill you trying to do this. Without any reservation, it's only a beginning, though, if honestly and humbly made. In fact, sometimes, not always, but sometimes, a very great one was felt at once. Not after a while, not in a little bit, at once. And that was my experience in 1995 when I done this. But I didn't do it that day. I remember walking away from his house, and I said, I can't do this. Not the way you're asking me to do it. And he said, then I can't take you through the rest of the steps. He said, maybe you ought to back up to 2. I said, I don't want to back up to 2. I want to go forward. I just don't want to do this. And he said, then you're not doing it with me. And I remember going back a week later, and I said, okay, I'll do it. And he said, why? And I said, because I'm more scared of what's going on inside of my head, of this self you've taught me about, than I am about saying this prayer out loud in front of you and humbling myself. I'll do it. And very reluctantly, I got on my knees with this man, and I said this prayer, and my life changed. It's changed ever since. I love what Nikki said, next. People always say, David, when do you take the step? Well, look at that word, next. Get up off your knees. Here's a pen, here's paper, let's go. Make me a list. We set out on a course of vigorous action, which the first step is of a personal house cleaning. But look at this wording here. Many of us never attempted. We're talking about the first 100 people that wrote the book. Many of them never attempted this. You get to page 66, it says, to conclude that others was wrong. That's the second column in inventory, was as far as most of us ever got. So that's telling me right there that most of them never got through the 4th step. They stayed sober on the fellowship the rest of their life. If you can do that, that's great. But if you're an alcoholic addict like me, you can't do that. You'll die here. Though our decision, and like Nikki said, was vital, look up that word, see what that means. Vital. I'm going to die without it. And it's crucial. I have to have this. It promises me right here, this is a promise that I'm going to have little or permanent effect from this. I'm going to have an effect, and a very great one probably, but it's going to be little, and it's not going to be very permanent unless I at once. The bottom of page 63 said next. Now it's saying once. You want to know when to take a 4th step after 3? Look at them 2 words, next and at once, followed by strenuous. And this is going to be pretty strenuous to face. And remember, it's a searching and fearless moral inventory. We have to face and be rid of the things. But look at these 3 words, or these 2 words, in ourself. There's stuff in there that has me blocked from this power. And until that comes to the surface and that's removed through the rest of this process, none of this is going to be permanent. So that tells me that the first one, which never attempted this, they did not have a permanent effect. There's a difference between staying sober and recovering from the disease of alcohol addiction. Trust me, big difference. Most of us so. Unless at once followed by strenuous effort to face and be rid of the things in ourselves which had been blocking us. And as Nikki said, from the power. This is what has me blocked. It's not alcohol. It's not lust. It's not sex. It's not drugs. It's not love, addict, all that shit. So my liquor, the lust, all of these other things, that's the symptom. That's the effect. That's not the cause. Now we need to get down to causes and conditions. So if alcohol, lust, sex, food, relationships did not cause my condition, then what the hell did? Start back at page 60 and read very carefully back up to here and look how many times it mentions the word self. That's what caused the condition. Now we're going to face him and we're going to be rid of him. But it's going to take some strenuous effort. And it ain't going to be easy, trust me. But I can tell you the rewards far outweigh the risk, far outweigh it. What a beautiful life I've been given as a result of, and I'm scared to death to do it. You know what's so crazy is that I want to feel all this new power flow into me, but it's very strange whenever it does. Then I get afraid. I don't want to go any further. Let's just stop right there, you know. So what a powerful part of the book. We've been blocked, but it's not by the effect, it's by the cause itself. So thank you, Justin. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, David. There were several things you brought up there that I'd love to ask you about. We'll get to a couple of them here, but Nikki, first I want to go to you and ask a question based on what you shared. The phrase, "It's better to meet God alone than with one who might understand." Talk to me about how you go about that when you feel that when you feel that maybe there isn't one that will understand right now. How do you counteract maybe the loneliness of that and fill that with God as you take that daily decision with God, maybe alone?
Okay, well, that's a great question. And this is why we have to know the book. You know, it says, page 87, gradually becomes a working part of the mind. See, we're here to get reprogrammed. This is a program. We're getting a new set of instructions and warnings and life lessons through this experience, through this book. Okay. So in the 5th step, it says, talk to the right person. See, I mean, that's why I got like, it's kind of like, it's all broken down in this order, but eventually, like right now, how come I know to meet God with, like, it's better for me to meet God alone today, you know, on today, let's just say today, if I go down the list, there's very few people who are literally in the spirit world with me and get what I'm driving at. See, remember, make sure they understand what I'm driving at, says the big book, you know, and so it's important that the person that I'm talking about this with can keep a confidence. You know, I don't want to be mocked and made fun of when I say I live for God. I can't, I see, I'm armed with the facts. Remember, I'm armed with the facts. Page 125 tells me I'm a sensitive person. We're going to read here in 2 pages over that I can't afford a resentment. I cannot afford a resentment. So I can't go and talk about this way of life, this way of living, because that's not the right person to talk to. It says, you know, I've got to be honest with somebody if I want to live long and happily in this world. It says rightly and naturally, I've got to think well before I choose the person or persons with whom to take this intimate and confidential step. And people will say, Nikki, that's just for a 5th step. That's just when you're telling people your inventory or your step 10. No. This is how you live life. You know, I do a lot of trauma bonding. Oh, you did that. You went through that. You know, like that's what I'll do with people. That's how I'll meet people. And that was my old life, trauma bonding. You understand? We meet where, no, that's just people spewing and circle jerking their problems on each other with no solution, really. So what do I need to do? I need to talk to the right person. I'm armed with the facts about myself. I know going to certain people is going to cause a resentment, especially the word God. Most people live, and I know I did. I live, and I want to get to this question, but it's on page 568, where I live, right? I contempt prior to investigation. Most people live there. I know I did on everything. But so I love this program because God has been showing me how to create the fellowship I crave. So I do, even you guys, I could call you, both of you, and you would understand what I'm driving at. I would be talking to the right people. And normally what I know now, especially in the spirit world I'm in, if they aren't speaking Big Book, if they aren't speaking the Bible or their form of whatever their book is or their programming is, it's not for me. I can't afford a resentment, Justin. I can't, because it takes me literally, I get a daily reprieve here. I'm armed with the facts. So it's better for me to do this thing alone. And guess what? The reality of it is I'm never alone. This power's deep down inside of me. I just need to be reminded every day. Deep down inside is where this power is. I need this reminder. Thank you, Justin, because I'm never alone, even though sometimes I feel alone. I'm not, because the reality is that I do have people that I can meet God with. It's right here in this book, you guys, my fellowship.
Thank you, Nikki. David, the question I have for you is I'm going to kind of go into this through a history of what you've shared with us here. It's about the step 3 decision and really meeting God for the first time. You shared that, hey, in 1995, you had that spiritual experience as you're going through the steps. In 2019, you had another one, and you may have had several in between there. And then you mentioned earlier, either in this recording or in last week's recording, that just in the last year that there's been another big launch up. Do you find that it's normal for maybe the newcomer to have kind of a checkbox first experience that seemingly is meaningful, but as they continue on the path, it becomes more and more and deeper? Or do you feel that deep one can happen on the first go round through the steps? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I absolutely believe that it can go either way. Bill Wilson had that flash of light experience. So did the man in We Agnostic, Jim, our Southern friend. Many people, it tells you in the spiritual experience, that many people have, had these experiences, these sudden upheavals it talks about. And it says, although it was not our intention to create, this illusion or whatever, but for me, I think that it was the sudden spiritual experience in 95. Now, I've been in the rooms for a year, but I can remember that was really my first conscious contact with God, really meeting God, because I'd done the third step many times throughout that year that I was in there, but I was just not having any kind of an effect from it. So I really didn't have a lot of faith in it. So when it said to meet God, I think that not only did I meet God, but he met me where I was at. And it wasn't until I fully understood the first 2 steps and the way that's talking. Because for me, the second step says, we came to believe. Now, you'll hear a lot of rhetoric or whatever in the program, we came to meetings, but for me, those 2 words, we came, are past tense. I came to believe in something long ago, many years ago. But how did that work out for me? Not too well, because I think it was my idea of what God should be rather than what he really is. So when I met God, I met him on the terms of the Big Book and its principles it's laid out. And that's where I had a life-changing experience. With me, it's not so much that people don't really understand what I'm driving at, because, right after that, it says with someone we might misunderstand. But I think it's talking about the misunderstanding of the concept of self. If you don't understand that, even if you've been in the room for a long period of time, you're not going to be the man that I do this prayer with. You're not going to be the man that I do this work with. You're just not. And so, but to answer your question, I absolutely feel that the new man can have a flash of light experience, and many do. But Bill often said in many of his writings that if he had it to do over again, he would have wanted it the other way around. Because when that came for him, it ended up going away, and he suffered for a long time. That's the same thing that happened to me, the very same thing. But gradually, whenever you grow into that a little bit at a time, it's almost like chasing the first drink or the first drug all over again. For me, when I took that drink and I took that drug, it put me in such a place I wanted nothing but that for the rest of my. I remember saying that prayer, God, let me feel this way for the rest of my days. And that's how this is, without all the ramifications. So, yeah, I believe it can go either way, and I believe it does. I've worked with guys that, well, one man that you know very well that you work with very close. He had been into this program for quite some time and very schooled in the Big Book. But I sat him down and took him through this process. And when I got him to page 60 to 63, that man had an experience that was life changing. So gradually over a period of time, he grew into it more slowly. And man, he's a powerful, powerful example of what God can do in this program today. So there's so much here, but whether you have a big one or you have one that you grow into over a period of time, there are 2 words or 3 words at the top of page 63, and you read it last episode, and it says this: when we sincerely. That's the key. Whether it's big or whether it's little, as long as you come to it from that, you're going to have one, no matter what. So anyway, that's my experience, Justin. Thank you.
Thank you, David. All right, let's good stuff. Let's jump into takeaways. Nikki, why don't you start us off and share with us the takeaway that you had from this conversation today?
Well, I squared the 2 words when David said meet God. I mean, I have, my everyone's book here, I'm sure, is all mucked up, but I squared it really boldly. Like, that's what this is about, meeting God. But as you guys were just speaking, I was like, yeah, meet God. That's deep down inside of me, meaning the power's inside of me. So I'm meeting my power. That means I have power. That means it's going to be the most bitchin' day ever. Woo!
Love it. All right, David, how about you? What's a takeaway for you?
Yeah, that's great, Nikki. Well, I think it's the promise at the top of page 64. This will have little or permanent effect. That is damn sure something that I need to take away, remember, pay attention to, unless I once follow up with some action. What was that I was saying in the last episode? I used to hear that all the time. You got 3 frogs that sit on a log and one decides to jump off. How many you got left? 2, right? No, 3. He just decided he didn't take any action and jump. My sponsor told me that's bullshit. Don't say that again. So if he's listening to this, I said it again. But, it does make a lot of sense, because unless we take any action from here, all you've done is made a decision. Look at the story of Columbus back in We Agnostics. Here was a man that stood on the seashore and defied what everybody believed. He said, I don't believe the world is flat. I believe the world is round. I believe you can get east from going west. I believe. But as long as he stood there saying that, all the hell he ever done was believed it. Nobody cared. I don't care what anybody believes here. But one day he made a decision, and he took action based on that decision. He approached the queen, and he got some money, and he set out, and he took action. He done this, he done that. And I'll be damned, here we are in America. So, a belief is just a belief. Until you make a decision and take action based upon that decision, then it's just a belief. It's just a decision. there's action now. We're getting ready to go into action now. So appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, David. My takeaway today is something that I've experienced and that I think I've set the expectation for, that I want to experience it every time, and it just doesn't seem to work out every time. But that the God experience can be every bit as powerful as the chase or the actual high of the drug of my choice. It can carry me through without the negative side effects, and I do crave to experience that more often in my life. And so that's something that I'm really going after that, or I'm really I will be really making decisions and taking actions to experience that. Everybody, as you listen to these panelists around this roundtable and their experience, strength, and hope, if something is touching you and saying, hey, I really need to take action on that, do something more than make that decision. Let's jump off that log. Let's go and do these things. Get out there and do it. And the actions taken will be worth it, as you are also worth it.